Renee Savage from Renee's House of Quilting in Williamsburg, Michigan, which is just east of Traverse City, Michigan, has our next demo. She is an authorized dealer of Accuquilt cutting machines, and she's going to show you the amazing things they do.
Thank you, and welcome to the Accuquilt demo today. I want to introduce you to what I think is one of the greatest inventions since the sewing machine. It cuts your cutting time by about 90%, and it's 100% accurate. So there's no more rulers slipping, there's no more the phones ringing and oops, you've cut your fabric wrong, there's no grandchild or dog bumping your leg or reading your ruler wrong. It does it all for you, but you still have the pleasure of handling the fabric and seeing your beautiful strips come together. So I would like to start by introducing you to the machines. This is the Go Baby. It takes all machines that are of the narrow width. This is the Go, regular size Go, and it takes all of the dies that are a little bit wider. It takes actually 95% of all of the dies that Accuquilt makes. This is the Go Big. It is the electric one. These are both hand crank. So you have to hand crank them through. So if you have a little arthritis or if you have a little shoulder problem, you probably will want to stay with the electric. So this is the electric, and to use it, all you have to do is flip it open and turn it on, and it's ready to go. The next thing that Accuquilt has brought out, which is a fabulous way to start your collection of dies, are the Go Qubes. These cubes come in wonderful packaging. The 6-inch cube, the 8-inch cube, and the 9-inch cube will all fit the Baby, the Go, and the Go Big. The 12-inch cube will only fit the Go and the Go Big. So the cubes actually come with 8 dies that look like this. So you can see how cool, if you can see that, how cool all of the dies are. They're all numbered and they have pictures in them. The next set has another 8 in it, and then it also comes with a CD on how to use it, a book on the patterns, and it comes with a cutting mat. So everything is in your storage case. And these storage cases are very sturdy. One of the problems with all of us who have a lot of dies is how do we store them? You can't stack them, you might damage the blades. So this is an ideal way to start your collection and to store them because, as you can see, it doesn't take up a lot of space. Okay, so now I am going to introduce you to how to cut your strips. Now, when we're strip cutting, and I'm doing this die simply because it's probably the most popular strip to use. All of us buy jelly rolls, or we have to put bindings on our quilts. The sashing on your quilt, the common size is 2.5 inches. So this is the strip die. And as you can see on the strip die, you have a straight line here on the end. That's your starting line. So when you're running your strips, you should always run that through your machine first. If you forget, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. These diagonal lines that are on here are your 60, your 45, and your 33 diagonal lines to cut your diamonds for your star quilts, for Hunter Star. You can even do a stack and whack on this if you pre-stack your fabrics. Isn't that great? No more fussing with your rulers. This line here, I'll show you. So this line is an extra straight line, if you can see it, to cut 2.5-inch squares. So if you don't want to buy a lot of dies, this die will actually cut your strips and your squares for you. The quilt behind me, this one, was all done on this die. And the white background on this quilt took me 20 minutes to cut. That's all. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put the die on the bed, or I'll actually set it down here so the guys in the camera can come and see how I'm going to fold my fabric. This is a pretty little batik that I found here at the show, actually. So, and what I've done is I've fan folded it. So I'm actually going through 6 layers of fabric at one time. what I'm going to do is line up my folded edge right next to the straight line on this end. We're going to go on the straight line on this end. I'm making sure that all my blades are covered. Next, I'm going to put my cutting mat on top of the die. This is so hard. Can't you see? It's so hard. And I press it through. Now, it takes about 18 seconds for it to run totally through its programming. There's enough strips on here to bind a queen size quilt. We've done it. So I just can't say enough nice things about how this works. So I feel like a magician in the booth all week. So what you do then is, a lot of people want to flip up their mat like this and pull it off. If you slide it off, your pieces all stay on the die, so you don't have anything going flying. You've got your little bit of waste on each side, and then you have all your perfectly cut 2.5 inch strips. And there's all kinds of them here, as you can see. Well, it's a little bit more than a half yard because there's 3 slots at 2.5 inch each, and I wanted to fan fold it 3 times. So it's more like 24 inches total. You have to do the math. All right, now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to cut, I'll just leave it laying down, your 2.5 inch squares. So what I'm going to do is, again, is I'm going to fan fold here, right on the die, going back and forth, and laying this right on the die like that. I'm going to take another strip because I want to cut some diamonds to go with it. I'm going to lay the diamonds just so that I'm catching the blades, and if you can't see it here, you can always come to the booth later. So I'm going to do that. And you can, I'll show you, show you out in the audience. Can you see, everyone? Okay. Put my mat back on. I'm going to run it through again. This is wonderful. It's so exciting because you can do multiple layers at one time. You can put your fabrics right sides together or wrong sides together when you're doing it. And it just goes right on through. And usually while it's going through, what I do is I get my next piece ready to go. Okay, again, we're going to slide the mat off. And here we have all of these wonderful 2.5 inch squares that would normally take you all day to cut. So there's your squares. Now, here are the magic diamonds. See all the diamonds? And they're all perfectly cut. And also I'd like to remind everyone at this time, all your 1/4 inch seams are included in all of the Accuquilt dies unless it's an applique. All the half square triangles, all your drunkard's path, melon block, drunkard's path, everything that your 1/4 inch seam allowances are included. So we'll put this aside for now. And now I'd like to talk to you about a really great die that comes with a machine. It comes with a Go machine. It comes with the middle one. It's this die. This die will cut your 4.5 inch square, your 2.5 inch square, and a 2.5 half square triangle. Now you probably can see that there's a line drawn on here. Accuquilt has told us to do that to remind you of straight of grain. You need to cut your squares and your half square triangles on the straight of grain. So I've taken a couple of pieces of fabric here. I tried to pick something that was really bright and cheerful for everyone. And what you can do is you can put these together. I'm going to put them right sides together to show you how cool this is. So you put right sides together. And you have a long piece here now. See how we have this long piece? So you can fold it in half if you want, or if you don't want to, you don't have to. Like this. Lay it on the die, and I'm actually going to lay it so that it's in the direction of the arrow so that you can all see that. We're going to put the mat on top, like that. Make sure that it's nice and straight. Then we're going to actually just give it a tug, and it's going through the machine. The other thing on the Accuquilt, when it's cutting your half square triangles or your tumbler block or any of the other ones that have points, it cuts off all your dog ears for you. So all you have to do is line up your dog ears and make sure that they line up before you actually run them through your machine. So what I'm going to do now is actually pull this off. And so I didn't pull it off as neat as I wanted to for the camera, but that's okay. So here we have now, we have our 2.5-inch squares. We have our half square triangles that are like this. And you have your 4.5-inch square that goes with it. The quilt that's down here, you can see that this quilt was done with all squares and half square triangles and just how you put your combination together. It's a really nice sampler that works with this die. The dies come in all sizes, so if you don't want a 2.5, they make a 3.5, they make a 4.5, they make a 5.5, all the way up to 8.5, half square triangles, squares, circles, all of that sort of thing. So the next thing I'd like to show you that's really wonderful about the Accuquilt is the applique. I love to applique. So what we've done here is we've got this really cool applique die with the pumpkins and the maple leaves. You can see that. And I'm going to have to grab over here really quick. And I've put fusible web already on the back of my fabric. Can you see that? Right and wrong side. You can use any kind of, if you have a favorite, it doesn't matter. You can use anything that you want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to cover the whole die. I don't have to cover the whole die. If I only wanted to make a pumpkin, I could just cover the pumpkin part. But today we're going to do all of them. So again, I'm going to put my mat on top, just like that. I'm going to give it a little tug. And it's doing its thing for me. There are over 200 dies in the Accuquilt library. And also, I keep forgetting to tell people this, if there is a shape that you want that they don't have, they will make it for you. Isn't that great? There's we wanted a bigger die square for the store for working with the Shannon Minky fabrics to cut the minky, because it will cut the minky. And they didn't have one. They do now. They do have a tulip flower. They have a beautiful tulip flower. I think I have it with me, yes. So here we go again. Here are our pumpkins. Here's our oak leaf, maple leaf, and here's a really cute little acorn. Although I would do the acorn in 2 colors, of course. So I'll do that one more time and show you now where you don't have to cut the entire die. The blades don't come up. The blades do not come up. What happens is, and that's a good question, I like to explain that. The blades are embedded in the die. So when you put your fabric on here and you put your mat on, the rollers push the mat into your die blades. So it's just the reverse of when you're actually rotary cutting on your rotary mat. So now I only want to cut, let's cut the big one. Let's cut that pretty one. Nancy wants some of those. So we're going to just cover that, and then I'm only going to cover half the die. Here, I'll leave that down so you can see I'm only going to cover half the die. So, because there's no point in running the mat on both pieces if I only want one. I don't need the other one. So here we go. This is so cool. Kids love to do this. Little kids, big kids, they love to do this. And the grandmas that I've talked to that have this, these kids just love to die cut their own pieces. So here is a great maple leaf, if you can see that, and then I'll actually hold it up so you can see it out there. Okay? So if anyone has any more questions, you can come up afterwards and see me, or you can come to my booth. I want to thank you all for being here today.
As Renee showed you, using the Accuquilt machines and dies will give you the most accurate cutting. I must say, cutting out applique with those dies is my favorite thing. I hope you enjoyed these demos. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We wouldn't want you to miss a single show. Please share us with your friends and leave a comment. We would really love to hear from you.